Yes, we can start. It's all right.
I'm sorry,
You can talk.
Okay. In drawing, we talk about the hidden curve running through the center of the body and all the parts of the body. The movement is always curved, never straight. Dancers talk about it as the line, and it's like the general line which would come from the feet up through the body like this and back. And this is another one like this. There's another one from here like this. And we have the same thing in drawing. We look for the line or the central curve running through everything. And I was very interested in how things moved, how people moved, how animals moved, and also how dancers moved, fencers, people, sports people. So I began drawing dancers at 17, and I'd been drawing them ever since. So there's a kind of understanding between a painter and a dancer. The current passes, as the French people say, le courant passe. And also the dancers, how to put it, they always project something when they're posing. It's as if they're on stage all the time. So it's very exciting for the artists. They give you back some kind of energy. And I felt that when I left my apartment building after I'd been drawing those dancers, somehow the world looked more beautiful to me. It's as if the world became another art object or art project. I draw the dancers as they were on stage, and also as they came off the stage in back of the curtains. And that to me also was a wonderful experience, because you'd see a kind of storybook world going on stage where they were dancing, kind of like a fairy tale situation, and they'd come off into the wings staggering and cursing bad language, sweating, you know, in the real world. So you'd see both of them at the same time. In New York City, I had an exhibition called Seth Jacobs' World of Dance, and it was 125 drawings of dancers, and my idea was to document a certain period in dance history in drawings, different dance companies, different dance styles and so on, and these were all posed by the dancers. I never worked from photographs. The dancers posed for all of them. The dancer is named Philip Salvatore, and he was in the Martha Graham company. Do you ever hear of her?
Yes, yeah. Martha Graham, of course.
This was another one. Matthew Diamond. Sort of like a jazz-style ballet. These lights and things I made up, again, give it a theatrical stage feeling. Oh, here's a drawing of Glenn Dufford. I mean, from the drawing of Glenn Dufford that you saw. This is the painted version. So I gave them kind of a theatrical lighting to make it look as if they were on stage. Elaine Kudo, and she was her ancestry was part Japanese and part Russian, and she had very beautiful blue eyes and black hair. She was a very striking, beautiful woman. Unfortunately, she had a husband, you know.
Okay.
This dancer is named Nanette Ledet, L-E-D-E-T, and she also is a choreographer, and she made her own dance called mantilla. That's the Spanish women put a comb in their hair, which this represents the comb, and from that they hang a lace called a mantilla, like a shawl. Sometimes wrap it around. And she also is like, everything was very highly defined, all the forms, wonderful to draw. I also did a figure drawing of her, which I used as a study for a mural. I can show you, that might be interesting. I can show you the figure drawing and the painting made from it.
Yes. You want to do now?
I have to go get I have it in photographs. From those drawings I made some paintings. Paintings of them. This one. Alexandra Danilova. She is a Russian-born. Prima ballerina assoluta. She's an interesting lady to talk to also, because when she was dancing, when she was young, many of the stage sets and the costumes for the ballets were made by famous artists like Picasso and people like that. And she knew all these famous artist people, Dali, Salvador Dali, and Picasso. She knew them all. So she was interesting, like a living history. I felt when I was looking at her, her face to me had something of like a flying bird face, like a bird with the wings flying, with somehow as if she were moving through space very quickly. This dancer is Glenn Dufford from the Joffrey Ballet also. I was amazed that he actually could hold such a pose as that, and for this also he kept his feet and legs in the same position, and about every 15 minutes he would just straighten his body up or bend over, because it's very hard to hold, as you can imagine. And that's how we did this drawing. See, very courageous of him. I thought it looked like an impossible thing to hold. This dancer's name was Gia Montanola, and she was a Filipina. That's one of those poses where she would maybe every 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes, she would let her arms down, but she would keep the rest of the feet and legs on the body, the head, everything else the same, but just rest her arms occasionally, then go back into the same position. This dancer is Yoko Ichino, a Japanese ballet dancer, and this obviously is the Black Swan from Swan Lake. In this one, which is a Latin American dancer, Eduardo Patino, and I felt that there's kind of like a story built into the pose, that he looks as if he's upset about something that happened in the past, which makes him do this, and the arm projecting back refers to what happened before. It's kind of past into present, built into that pose for me. He's turning away from something that happened. This dancer's name is David Ho Choi. He's Chinese, and I found that he made an extremely expressive, emotional image. A very, very strong emotional charge in the drawing because of him. This technique is a process where you coat the paper with a layer of chalk. In this case, usually it's red chalk, brown, whatever, black, and they take the flat of the chalk and they rub it up and down and across, and then they smooth it out with a rag or a paper towel. And I like to make it of different colors. I'd first do, for example, it might have been a gray, and then add a little bit of a pink mixed in, sort of, to make a kind of a decorative effect of it. And the idea is that you do this on white paper, and to get the lighter tones, you erase out, you pick out with the eraser, you erase this ground, they call it, that you prepared. It's called prepared paper. You erase it, and where you want it lighter, you erase more. Where you want it a little less light, you don't dig the eraser in quite so hard. So you control the intensity of light by how much of the ground you remove. It's a very ancient technique, and it's also a very quick way when you're in a hurry to get a feeling of a lot of volume, of a lot of sculptural volume in the form by having those, picking out those lights against the dark lights and shadows.
Mm-hmm. You want to say something more?
This study of the of a model I posed in my class, his name is Jazz, J-A-Z. I wanted to show the effects of two different light directions, with each light coming from a different direction and having a different coloration. The the light from our left side was warmer and higher up above. The light on our right side is cooler and was coming from below. So that creates each a special effect, really, a little bit dramatic. The actions and effects of light they're very logical, they're very consistent. So each light direction follows its own dynamic, such that the modeling, the shading, cuts across the form, across the light direction, I should say, in each case. So if I can show you, so here the light source is a little bit above and off to our left. So wherever the form turns up and toward the left, it's lightest. As the form turns away, gradually it becomes darker. As it goes toward the lower right, it becomes darker or turns into shadow, whichever. You have to think of the light source as being in three dimensions. It's, if I can do that, it's in the, above the model, the light from the left side has a warmer color. It's above the model, but also about this much out in front. So you have to think in three dimensions where the light source is. So here I would say it's a little bit out in front this way. That's why this is lighter than this part, because the light is a little more toward the front. Now the secondary light source is not as strong, is cooler also. And so this is lighting up from below, from our lower right, and a little bit more, a little more back in space. So here it turns to shadow. This is turning light here, then it turns away from this second light source and goes into shadow here, where it turns toward the light, catches a little bit of light here too. In other words, the light is in the lower right, so the the underturns, the lower right of things tends to get lighter. Here too, very light. The light is down here this way. Then shadow. Then this is the light, the warm light from the upper light, which is more frontal. Here too you can see that where it turns, where the lips turn downward, they catch that light from below, the cooler lower light source from the right. Then they turn into shadow on the upturn. Here the upturn is in the light and the downturn in the shadow, because the light is above. Here also very light here, blazingly light, because it's facing very directly toward the light source. And also the light rays coming from this upper left, as they travel through space this way, the light ray itself becomes weaker. So for example, a light down here is not as light as this one is not as light as this one. In other words, the light ray itself is getting more, it expands as it travels through space. It gets wider, it's like a cone shape like this, and what you might call the photons are more dispersed as it travels through space. The farther it goes, the weaker the actual light ray becomes. We also have what are called cast shadows. That happens when a solid, opaque, three-dimensional mass blocks the light ray. The light is coming this way. This is blocking the light ray and casting a shadow. The shadows that are cast in the direction of the light, but they kind of wrap around each form. They take the shape that they're landing on, so to speak. So you have have what we call form shadows, where the form turns away from the light ray. The light ray, by the way, for our purposes, we can say travels in a straight line. So on curved forms, the curved form is constantly turning toward and away from that straight line ray. So we have what we call form shadows, where the form turns out of the path of that straight ray, and cast shadows, where a form blocks the light ray and casts a shadow. A little complicated. But in this also we can see that idea of the line that I talked about before. And if you analyze it in terms of these linear movements, we could say that this creates a weight-supporting arch for the upper body. These two, the feet, also a smaller arch. And then we have the main movement. This flows into this one, like that. The focus also here. And to accentuate this movement, we have counter movements, like that. And these, they kind of push this movement this way, because these make the eye move this way. And when that happens, this movement is accentuated. It's a little bit, if you've ever been in a train that was moving, but another train was moving alongside faster, it makes you feel as if your train is going backwards. And it's a little bit the same thing. These movements going this way tend to make this seem to move forward. So the drawing, although it's a static image on the paper, the eye is led into a certain pattern of movement. These two drawings are of the same dancer, Andrew Levinson. And he was a principal dancer with the Joffrey Ballet at the time. And just wanted to mention about that idea of creating movement in the artwork. Here, for example, there's a strong thrust this way, through here and here. That accentuates the movement this way. It makes the arm seem to reach, to move almost, because the eye is drawn this way, and in opposition to that, the arm and the leg will stretch this way. So it's a kind of device to make the limbs in the drawing almost seem to be moving. They seem to be thrusting in space against the counter movement. A couple of years ago, that would be maybe 2010, I think it was his uncle, emailed me to say that Andrew Levinson, this young man, had died of AIDS. I had a very curious feeling over and over again when I was doing this series of dance drawings. I don't know where it came from, but I kept thinking all the time when I would finish a drawing, this drawing will perhaps last for hundreds of years. And I don't know where that came from, but I felt it very strongly. I had a very strong sense of their mortality for some reason. But I felt for all of them that they're so alive, so beautiful, but like a flower they will die, but this will remain after them, these drawings.
Anda, que te anda, reloj. Anda, que parece que tiene alma. Y eres como el viento frío, corre que te corre. Anda, que te anda el reloj. Y algunos morirán por nada. Mira que no soy de hierro. En la cumbre mares